Hello, welcome to the channel. This video is talking about modal verbs. Like I started, this is the last part of modal verbs and we cover advices. How to give advices with modal verbs and how many different categories of advices we gonna cover. Let's take a look. Forceful, less forceful, advices with modal verbs. And talking about idea with modal verbs. Should and should not, or ought to or not to, or friendly warning, necessity, as well as stronger advice using modal verb must and have to, and some other hints. There are two different categories when we are giving advice. One category is having stronger, very forceful advice, and the other category is talking about advice that is less forceful. Which modal verbs are more forceful and which modal verbs are less forceful? Let's take a look. We can use must, have to, need to, have better, should, ought to, plus bad infinitive to give advice. We use different verbs depending on how strong and how forceful our advice is. Forceful advice could use modal verbs like must, have to, need to, and have better. Less forceful advice could use modal verbs should and ought to. Talking about idea with modal verbs should and ought to. We use should not, ought to, or not to say something is a good idea or a bad idea. And should is more common than ought to. Example, you should or you ought to take up a sport. You should not or shouldn't, ought not to, oughtn't to watch so much TV. How about giving friendly warning with modal verbs? Let's take a look. We use have better or apostrophe D better. Have better not to give friendly warnings. You better send in your application soon. You better not push that button. How about advise people that something is necessary or not necessary? Let's take a look. We use need to, need not to, or do not need to, don't need to advise people that something is necessary or not necessary. Example, you need to wear a helmet to ride that motorcycle. You needn't or don't need to wear a helmet in a car. When we are giving more stronger advice, we could use must and have to. Let's take a look. We use must and have to when we feel strongly that someone should follow our advice. You must see this film. It's absolutely brilliant. And you have to see it in King's Theatre. That's my favorite cinema. And there are some hints when we are using modal verbs giving advice. Let's take a look. Remember, mustn't, don't have to, have a very different meanings. We use mustn't to give someone, to advise someone very strongly that they shouldn't do something. We use don't have to when something isn't necessary. You really mustn't miss this film. You can watch it on DVD if you want. You don't have to see it in the cinema. And also we use should to ask for an advice. We usually use should I to ask for advice. Should I start playing football? Which team should I join? That is some common error about apostrophe D better. Let's take a look. The expressions you would better is always had better instead of should better. Bear in mind that. Wow, very nice. That's all for today, and that's all for all modal verbs video. And like this videos and subscribe our channel. There will be a new topic next time. Goodbye.